Good evening. Welcome to With the Author. I'm Cliff Manning. My wife Dorothy Deal will be here asking us some questions, get a little bit of feedback going, and generally introducing myself and my books to those people who may be interested in reading. Dorothy, the first question, please.
When did you first realize you wanted to be a writer?
When did I first realize? Well, that would have been about the third grade. I was going to school in West Carrollton, Ohio, and then a year later I went to school in Troutwood. And I began with doing little comic book type things, stick figures, and trying to come up with these crazy little skits. Really, 3 pages wasn't really big enough to call them a book, but the urge kind of stayed with me through junior high and high school. Creative writing classes that I took, I actually got downgraded in some of them because I had simply written what was supposed to be a 2-page essay, ended up being a 30-page chapter. I actually had too much information there for the teacher to grade, and I actually lost points for it. That's when I really decided I would really like to try my hand at a novel sometime.
How long does it take you to write a book?
That depends on the person writing and how much time they got to put in on it. For me, my first book took 10 years. But there were some extenuating circumstances in there. I was not writing as a professional. I was doing it on my own time. I worked nights as a janitor and wrote during the day, which is always a challenge. But I don't sleep well after dark, so I normally wouldn't go to bed before 8 o'clock in the morning anyhow. And then work the night shift from 5 in the afternoon to 2 in the morning. Get home about 2:30 and go to work on my book. And I could put in till 9, 10, no problem. Took a lot of time. There was a move from Ohio to my current home in West Virginia, and the building of a cabin in there. There was a lot of things that caused me to stop, take a break for months at a time on writing this one. I'm hoping that the second, third, and fourth books, which I think I would like to do in the series, won't take me quite as long.
What is your work schedule like when you're writing?
Hectic if you've got another job. Myself, I'm semi-retired. I'm not working janitorial anymore, so I can devote more time to my writing and hopefully get some things done faster. The first 9 years on the book that I did do, there was a lot of interruptions because of having to stop and go to work. We moved home to West Virginia. I was going to work and helping to build a cabin we're currently living in, all at the same time as trying to write the book. Last year or so, I completed over half of the book once I had the time to dedicate specifically to the book. And it all depends on the person. If they've got the talent, if they've got the craving, if they have the passion to do the book, there won't be any problem getting it out there.
What would you say is your interesting writing work?
My appetite. When I get into a section of a book where I know I've got something good going, I've got a thing rolling, I will totally forget to eat for 2-3 days at a time. Quick raise on the coffee pot, but then right back to the keyboard. I also forget to sleep during that time. Once I get started, there's no stopping. My wife will come by and toss a veggie bowl at me or some cookies or something just to keep me from withering totally away. But if it was left up to me, I'd focus totally on the book.
How do books get published?
This day and age, we've got a very large variety of selections. You've got the ebook, you've got the self-publishing ebook and paperback. You have companies that will help you like Amazon and Lulu. Those are two very good companies. I can't really say quite enough about them. They help me to pretty much self-publish different versions of my book. And the customer support that both companies have given me has been first rate. If I ever ran into a problem, I could get them on the phone, and usually within a matter of minutes, the problem is resolved. They told me Now, mind you, this is my first time out, and I'm making beginner's mistakes, which are fairly easy to fix. But between the traditional agent-author relationship, between the self-publishing, the Kindle, and the paperback books, there are so many choices out there that it's no problem to get published.
Where do you get your information or ideas for your books?
For the genre of book that I'm doing, role gaming gives me a lot of information. I'm a Dungeons and Dragons player from way back, early 70s, back before the Gygax divorce split and the subsequent Dungeons and Dragons editions came out. I'm also fond of westerns, television shows like Maverick, Bonanza, the old western, good classic western television series. There's books out there written by J.T. Edson, actually an Englishman, but he gave a whole new twist to the western story theme, and he packed a lot of technical information into his books. Plenty of sources out there if you just look for them. Next question, please.
When did you write your first book and how old were you?
Well, this is my first book that I've just published. I was 44 years old when I started. I'm 54 now. It took me a little bit of time to get the thing done. Like I said, there was an interstate move, 340 miles. There was the building of a new home, work schedules. It took quite a bit of time when you're not putting all of it into your book. Now, I figure the next book I'm estimating will take anywhere from 3 to 6 months, because I no longer have the work requirements, the home's up and everything. I won't have any interruptions. I can just sit down and plug it out. Again, a lot of that's going to depend on the person who's wanting to write. The drive and the passion has got to be there. If you're really interested and you really dedicate yourself to the art, 3 to 6 months is not unreasonable between books. Next question. Next question.
What do you like to do when you're not writing?
Horseback riding. Pick up softball games with the cousins, nephews, and nieces. Tag football. Picnic lunches with my darling wife. Touring museums. Big history buff. I've written 6 or 7 short history stories, which I've put out on Facebook. I like to play cards, poker, spades, rummy, fond of board games, Scrabble, Risk, various other things. There's a whole variety of things out there for a person to enjoy if they just go out and do it. Next question, please.
What was one of the most surprising things you learned in creating your book?
Writer's block is a killer. There were times when I would go for 3 months without sitting down at the keyboard. The words were there. I wanted to put them out, but for whatever reason, I was just so stressed, so worried about getting them done, that I couldn't put a word on the page. After I took a break, did something totally different for a day or so, it flowed. Worry can be a really big thing. Don't worry, just follow your passion, relax, and let it flow. With self-publishing today, there is no reason for a person to be rejected. That's a worry that's off all of our minds. Next.
How many books have you written, and what is your favorite?
One novel, about 6 or 7 short historical articles. Of the 7, my book has to be my favorite, simply because it was the biggest, it was the most challenging, and it took the most determination to finish. Hopefully there will be about 3 to 5 more books in this series. And if you'll get back with me later, I'll see what I can do about answering that question in detail.
Do you have any suggestions to help become a better writer? If so, what are they?
Yeah, one big one. Pick your passion, find something you really like to talk about, or enjoy reading about, or just generally enjoy, and go with it. 90% of it is in the passion, in the determination of the writer to get it done. As you go along, you'll pick up tips from all over the place. But the biggest one is just follow your heart, follow your passion, and let it flow. Yes.
Do you hear from your readers much, and what kind of things do they say?
I haven't heard from any of my readers much, mainly because the book's brand spanking new. It was just out this week. September the 11th, I believe, was our publishing date. I think the 9th, I've got my copyright pushed through, and we had it out in the Amazon store on the 11th. Really fairly new. We've got a website on a Facebook page, the Traveler Series. I posted things out there. There's a couple hundred people see it. Put some ads out on Twitter. Hopefully the word will get out there and it'll spread. For right now, it's fairly new, and I haven't really heard from a lot of people. I'm looking forward to hearing your comments and suggestions, because I'm pretty sure that when I get ideas from you people in comments and suggestions, that'll make my writing better in the future and more enjoyable for everybody.
Do you like to create books for adults?
Yeah, that's the basic group that I'm writing for. Young adult through seniors, I think, would enjoy these things. Anybody from about age 13 and up. I say 13 because some of the words I use are $5 words, a little bit complicated for anybody younger than that. Although some of them might surprise me. We've got some really talented young people coming up. But basically, yeah, I haven't done any children's books yet. That might be a challenge I might take on in the future.
What do you think makes a good story?
The characters. If you get to know the characters, you get to understand their feelings, their insights, their passions, their life, then the book will definitely be worth reading. Somebody that's just sort of there and kind of a flat, stick figure cutout wouldn't be interesting to anybody. But once you get into feeling the emotions and seeing things from their point of view, then the book becomes really interesting. It could have the worst plot in the world, the most cliched situations, kind of like mine. I'm doing a standard Western thing. Girl gets kidnapped. Guy has to rush in and save her with a couple of his friends, while another bad guy's over here trying to take the ranch away from him. That's a cliched. That thing has been done to death. But I believe that with my characters and the way they've got a comic approach to some things and a serious approach to others you wouldn't quite expect, I think that makes the book a good read. And I think this is a really good read.
As a child, what did you want to do when you grew up?
I had 3 basic things I wanted to do, and so far I've accomplished them all. The first one was I wanted to be a soldier. My dad served during World War II, and I wanted to follow in his footsteps big time. Well, I did that between 1983 and 1990. Served in the Army Reserves, and the National Guard. Proud of that. The other thing I wanted to do cartoons. I'd seen a lot of Bill Malden's work from where he was in the Army during World War II. 9th Infantry Division, the Stars and Stripes newspaper. I wasn't quite that good, I wasn't quite that known, but I did publish in the 24th Infantry Division newspaper, First to Fire, and I did publish in the battalion newsletter, Gear Defender. So, that's 2 of my big goals accomplished right there. And then here, with me being 54 years old, I did complete my 3rd and final goal. I got a book out, I got it published. It's out on Amazon.com, the Traveler Series, #1, Homecoming. Lulu's got a version. I'm working with them. I want them to do the hardback and Amazon to do the softbacks and the Kindles, so I can keep them separated. But this way, we've got a variety out there, so it should be something out there for everybody. This is Cliff Manning. This has been With the Author. Have a nice one.